What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've been on camera. I'm happy to be back. I kind of faded after the fantasy football season off camera and really focused on coming out with the 2024 quarterback scouting profiles. I mean, I do them every year, and I believe this year we're up to number 9. I just finished one on Michael Pratt, Tulane quarterback. But today, I didn't want to focus necessarily on just the NFL draft itself. I really wanted to swing this focus back to fantasy football, and I wanted to talk about Dynasty. We have Dynasty rookie drafts coming up in, if it hasn't happened already, in the next month. You know, the NFL draft is in probably 3 weeks or so, roughly 3 weeks. So we need to know, hey, you got the number 6 overall pick. What quarterback are you taking? Which ones are worthy? Which ones should you skip or take? So today, I want to go through roughly 10 to 12 prospects and really decide and figure out, are these guys first round worthy? Or second, third, what pick are we using here? Or should we pass altogether and go after this monster class of, really great star-studded receivers? We'll talk about it. All right, so the first guy we have to talk about is Mr. Superstar himself, number 1 overall pick, future Chicago Bear. It's Caleb Williams. He's my number 1 overall pick, and Dynasty, he should be probably the number 1 overall selection, I would say. The quarterback position is so hard to nail down, and especially if you're talking about, 2 quarterbacks or a super flex league, quarterbacks don't grow on trees. Trust me, in my own personal league I have right now, I have Trevor Lawrence and Ryan Tannehill, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. So I'm really struggling for a QB2. So I think Caleb Williams should probably just be the number 1 overall pick regardless. But for my quarterbacks, he's my number 1. Quarterbacks are hard to predict because there's a big bust rate, but Caleb Williams seems to kind of have the best chance to succeed out of everybody. I mean, the guy has one of the best arms I've seen in a draft in a long time, and it's not even necessarily that the guy can just throw the ball anywhere he wants. Well, it's true, but it's the fluidity he throws with. It's that he has the crazy arm angles. He has this off-platform, just a natural ability to sling it. It's something that's very rare that you don't see from a lot of guys. Everyone likes to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, and obviously that's really hard to do. But I just think Caleb Williams going to Chicago, and they did a good job of giving him weapons. Cole Kmet has always been a decent tight end. They have DJ Moore, and they just brought in Keenan Allen. And who knows? The Bears have another top 10 pick. There's no reason they can't go after another rookie receiver and just make that a stacked trio. And not to mention DeAndre Swift, my boy right here, coming out of the backfield, who's a good weapon. So I just think a lot of things add up for Caleb Williams to have kind of just instant success, especially with Justin Fields just completely out of the picture. It's Caleb Williams' job. I would take him if in Dynasty altogether, I would take him number 1 overall. But if, you're looking for a quarterback and you have a top, 2, 3 pick and he falls, I just think he has to be the number 1 overall pick. And then the second quarterback on my board is going to be Jaden Daniels. Now, I don't think Jaden Daniels should be the number 2 overall pick in rookie drafts. If I was doing it from scratch, I'd probably start off with Caleb Williams 1, Marvin Harrison 2, Rome Odunze 3, Malik Neighbors 4, and then I would fall into Jaden Daniels. And I think Jaden Daniels is really special. I think he's easily better than Drake May. I think Jaden Daniels has the rushing upside as he was a monster in college. Everyone's worried about his frame and how small he is. And sure, is that a factor? Of course. Like, duh. But I've seen so many other quarterbacks who are these, big stud quarterbacks, these guys that are huge and should never get hurt. Get hurt. It happens every single year. You can't predict injuries. So, the guy's not 110 pounds. He weighs probably 200 pounds. He's a little slender, but I don't really care. I think he throws the most pro-style throws I've seen, whether that's out routes, curls, sticks, sluggos. I mean, the guy loved the slot fade last year. He nailed that to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. So I just really fell in love with Jaden Daniels during this process, and I'm a huge fan. In real life, NFL, number 2 overall pick, it should definitely be Jaden Daniels over Drake May. We'll talk about Drake May next, but Jaden Daniels for me with the rushing upside, I just think as a rookie, he's an instant plug and play. He will, if he sucks as a passer, if he comes out and he throws, 15 touchdowns and 10 picks and throws for 3,000 yards, I believe on the ground, he can at least rush for 500, 600, 700 yards and just kind of make up ground as a fantasy quarterback. Probably not a stud, but I just feel like it's kind of foolproof to where it's bust proof unless he gets injured. So for me, Jaden Daniels, I think has a really bright future. And as a rookie, if you need him desperately, like I do in my Dynasty League, I think he has a really, really safe floor coming into his rookie year. So I would take him at, I would say probably pick 105 is really where I'm targeting Jaden Daniels. All right. And then next up is Drake May. And man, Drake May for me is a really tough one because I don't think he belongs in the class with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I think they're one tier above, but I don't think he belongs in the tier with Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. And I think I said that 3 times, but I don't think he belongs in that class. I think he's kind of just that one single guy that's between the top 5 of Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and between the Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix group. Drake May, to me, is this year's most unpredictable player. When I did a scouting report, you see all the flashes of talent. The dude has that crazy arm. He has the really awesome kind of improvisational skills where you saw it. That offense at UNC was very dysfunctional and not all his fault. The offensive line wasn't great. I don't think his receivers were the most talented outside of Walker that they had. That's probably going to be, probably second, third, fourth round pick, but going to be drafted, right? Outside of him, there wasn't a lot of talent. And I hate the Mac Brown offenses. I've always hated them, even back with Sam Howell. So I think Drake May kind of fought an uphill battle. But what I saw was someone within the pocket who did good a lot of the times, but sometimes took sacks. When he felt pressure, he forced really bad throws. And I don't know. I didn't fall in love like I did with Jaden Daniels. Not saying Drake May can't do it because you see the arm talent, right? The guy can throw the ball downfield almost better than anybody in this class. The arm's crazy. He's pretty athletic. Not going to be a huge runner in the next level, but, everyone compares him to Justin Herbert. And I think athletically, like kind of stylistically, it matches up pretty well. I just need Drake May to really, 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 really be comfortable at the next level, go to a team that has a good offensive line to protect him because at UNC, he didn't have it. And at times, I thought he was kind of sloppy. I have hope for him, but I'm not as in love with Jaden Daniels where 105, I'm taking Jaden Daniels no matter who else is on the board. When it comes to pick 106, I don't know if Drake May is my pick. I'd be targeting him from that probably 106 in the first round of your rookie draft to the 109 spot. I'd be targeting him there if you need a quarterback. I can't get him inside my top 5 picks, but around there, there's a ton of receivers in this class, but there's not any that really stand out that I think are more valuable than Drake May. So I would say Drake May, it falls between that 106 to 109 spot. If he's somewhere in there in your draft and you need a quarterback, I think you probably skip out on outside the top 3 of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. And I think you just go after the quarterback. Especially, like I said, if you're in a super flex or a 2 QB dynasty league, you need that quarterback, and Drake May could be the quarterback of the future. All right, so now we get into the late first round, early second round pick category. Now, this is a 3-headed monster here with Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Bo Nix. Now, I think some people are going to have JJ McCarthy slightly higher, and I think that really depends if he goes to the Vikings or not. I mean, that's a big what if right now in the NFL. It's been rumored that the Vikings want to shoot up and try to get a top 5 pick so they can take, assuming, JJ McCarthy. That's what everyone's been saying. All right, so first, I want to talk about Michael Penix before we talk about JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix. Michael Penix is my number 4 quarterback. And the reason why I have him slightly higher than most of the other guys is I just feel like he throws the ball everywhere. He threw the ball in really great spots at Washington. He put up really big numbers. And I thought within the pocket, man, he was really clean. There were some times he would have errant throws, but I thought a lot of the times he maneuvered within the pocket well. At his pro day, he ran a really good 40, which isn't everything. And we know that he wasn't the most athletically inclined at Washington. There wasn't a ton of opportunities for him to run, but when he has a clean pocket, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in this class. If not, honestly, probably behind Caleb Williams, the best. When the pocket's clean, he's great. Now, we haven't seen what it looks like when the pocket isn't clean, but what I've seen from him moving within a pocket, whether that's climbing, moving left or right to avoid pressure, I think it's really great from Michael Penix. So I think whatever team he goes to, I think he's just going to be fine. All these rankings will change when the NFL draft actually happens. So right now, I'm kind of just ranking them based on who I really like and don't like, if you will. These are basically the order in which I would take you in the NFL draft. And I think Michael Penix is easily my number 4 quarterback. If I was the Raiders, sitting there at, I think they have pick 9, if I'm correct. I think it's 9 or 11, something like that. I think I'm jumping on him. I'm jumping on Michael Penix if he's still there. I think Penix really has a chance to be great. I think the one big flaw is you're probably not getting a lot of rushing yards from him. And the big question mark, how does he handle pressure? Because at Washington, he had one of the best offensive lines in the whole, game, in the whole nation, probably. He had one of the best offensive lines. So that's a big question mark. But from what I've seen him do kind of at his peak, I'm willing to take the risk with Michael Penix. Next for me is JJ McCarthy. Now, JJ McCarthy is one of those prospects where I did a scouting report on all these guys, but with JJ McCarthy's, I was impressed and kind of disappointed at the same time. Impressed with, he has the cleanest footwork of any prospect in the class. His footwork is immaculate. His technique is great. The guy has a really big arm, probably not at the level of Drake May and Caleb Williams, but probably third in his class. Like, I think it's a really strong arm. He's really athletic. He's pretty sneaky athletic, I would say. And, he just, to me, screams really, really, really safe floor. And maybe not a ton of upside, maybe not huge upside, but really like one of the safest bets for me to be, in 3 years, 4 years from now, who's going to be starting for the team that drafted him still. And I think JJ McCarthy is probably almost at the top of the class there, where I think he's really safe. My only big flaw with him was his senior year at Michigan. He didn't throw the ball downfield at all. I mean, there were some throws, but I think like literally in my scouting report video, I think I found maybe 2 or 3 throws downfield where I went, where he completed them. And then there was a lot of other ones where I went, okay, he was scared to take the one-on-one shot, didn't take it, overthrew receivers that were wide open downfield like multiple times. I made that point. I pointed that out in my video. So that just worries me a little bit for his upside. But I think if you want like someone who's really, really, really safe, I think JJ McCarthy is that pick. So that's why he's right behind Michael Penix, because I think Michael Penix has a higher ceiling. But if you want more of a safer play, I think it'd be JJ McCarthy. And then to round out our late first, early second round pick group, it's Bo Nix. Bo Nix out of Oregon. I mean, this guy's been playing college football. I think he has 61, I think it is, career starts. That's the most of anybody ever in college. So the dude's experienced. He brings a lot to the table, but I'm not super sold, as he's another one who just didn't throw down the field a lot. He played in the Oregon offense that was a ton of RPOs, a ton of kind of just screen passes to receivers, short slants and drags a lot, and not a ton downfield. And the one thing I had kind of with Bo Nix that I just didn't love from him was I felt like you could really bait him into the 3rd and 7 throwing the 3-yard drag. You could bait him into that a lot. He made a lot of big plays at Oregon and even in Auburn or in his earlier college days. And he's talented. I mean, he's got the big arm. He's pretty mobile on his feet, but a couple concerns with his age going into the NFL. I mean, he's going to be probably 23 going into college. Same thing with someone like Michael Penix. He has a long college career. You could look at it both ways. That's a lot of experience, but that's also okay, man, you're in college for 4 years and you had to come back for a 5th because you weren't really NFL ready. That's concerning to me. But I think Bo Nix is one of those guys where I go, I'm not necessarily targeting him, because I would say he's the last one of my group of starting quarterbacks, right? Like, I would take all those other guys I mentioned above him as starting quarterbacks in the NFL. He'd be my last pick. If I was one of the teams, if I was the Denver Broncos or the Raiders or the Vikings, I would try to target any one of those other guys except for Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix has a shot, but I'm just higher on the other guys in this class instead of Bo Nix. But in a dynasty landscape, right, we need a quarterback. He has a chance to be a starting quarterback for one of those teams. And if you have a late first, early second round pick and he's still there, you're not going to get a chance from the next guys, which are on my list: Spencer Rattler, Michael Pratt, Joe Milton, Sam Hartman, Jordan Travis. Those guys probably aren't going to be starters right away. So if Bo Nix is still available on your draft board and you're kind of desperate for a quarterback, he's probably your last shot here at the end of round 1, early round 2. If he's still there and you need a quarterback, you got to take him, because if JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix aren't there, you're not getting a starting a starting caliber player after Bo Nix. All right, and then we head into our second round picks, and I have 3 guys here, and it's tough because I also feel like this is another tier break where I have Spencer Rattler above other guys, like pretty much the rest of the class. I think he's right outside. I think he's a step outside of the NFL starter, where I think he is like the perfect project quarterback. I think the Jets in real life should jump on Spencer Rattler ASAP and just let him sit behind Rodgers, groom him, let him get ready. I think Spencer Rattler has a lot to be desired in the NFL. He has a lot of upside. I think some of the things he needs to get better at is moving within the pocket. His offensive line was horrific. I think he had the worst line of any one of these prospects. And he had a pretty good career at South Carolina. You know, they didn't have a ton of success as a team, but him individually he did. And I just think that's a little bit of what he needs to clean up. He has the strong arm. He can throw. He has that arm angle kind of fluidity throwing motion that Caleb Williams has and Drake May, where they can kind of just put the ball anywhere they want. Spencer Rattler has that, but he's a little bit more sloppy. The footwork isn't always there. Within the pocket, sometimes he drifts too far back, and that allows edge rushers to come off the edge and kind of get by tackles and make plays. I just need him to kind of clean up some of that stuff. And if he can do that, I think he has a real chance to be a solid pro. But right away, he's probably not going to play. And that's why I couldn't put him in the late first, early second round category, because those guys are all going to probably be starters next year, or at least have the chance to start, where I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to get the draft capital spent in the actual NFL draft for him to be a starter. And I don't think a team is going to be willing to just start him if he's going to be a third, fourth round pick. So I think Spencer Rattler is a great project. I think he's someone that if you have a taxi squad available, I think he's perfect for it. You sit him for a year, and then maybe next year, if he gets to a good team like the Jets, like I mentioned, or maybe the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, you know, one of these teams with an aging quarterback, I think he's a perfect backup project quarterback that could eventually pan out. All right, and then now I want to talk about Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt was a guy I was really high on. I just did my scouting report on him, actually posted it yesterday, but a big fan. I think this guy throws the ball kind of everywhere. He has pretty good footwork and accuracy. And a few things with him where I'm concerned, of course, is he's going to be probably a day 3 pick. He's probably going to fall in that late fourth, fifth round pick, if I had to guess. He had a lot of success at Tulane, and he led that team to victories. And I think he has some kind of gamer mentality. I think he is I'm going to go for it. He just seems like a winner in my book, in my eyes. There was a throw against UAB that I pointed out in my scouting report where I was really impressed with him. They were up 5 with 40 seconds left. They're on the UAB's like 30-yard line. Punt this ball, make UAB go to the entire length of the field. There's 40 seconds left in the game. You're up 5. It's I think it's 4th and 9. They go for it. Michael Pratt completes a 40-yard touchdown bomb. Like, why would you throw that ball? So I kind of think he just has this gamer mentality. And it's something that I really felt with when I did my Brock Purdy video a long time ago. And, you know, that video, I really thought Brock Purdy was going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I thought he had a shot to be a starter. And I kind of thought he has a lot of the same traits where, you know, in the fourth quarter, he's clutch. In situations, he makes throws. He completes deep throws down the field. So I think Michael Pratt has a lot of upside with some mechanical issues. You know, I think his pocket mobility, like just moving within the pocket, isn't the best. Reading defenses, sometimes he's one read and go, which isn't obviously awesome. But I think that's another thing where if he could sit behind a quarterback like Rodgers, like Kirk Cousins, one of these guys that's well established and learn, I think eventually he could end up being, you know, some kind of serviceable starter in the future. I wouldn't say I would spend an early second round pick on Michael Pratt. I would still probably look to draft some of the star-studded receivers we have because we have a lot of receivers in this class. But give me a mid to late second round pick where maybe you don't see any running backs you really desire. The tight ends prospects aren't that great this year. A lot of the receivers will be gone by then. Then I'm willing to take the shot on Michael Pratt. Then now we move on to Joe Milton. Joe Milton out of Tennessee. This one's tough because Joe Milton is really talented, but sloppy. I mean, this guy's footwork is everywhere. He has the rocket arm. He's athletic, But man, he just doesn't play fluid at all. He feels like a robot back there at times. He's very stiff. He just doesn't feel very fluid to me and natural. He feels like he has to force a lot. I think Joe Milton has another chance to be a good quarterback and maybe takes the shot, at the second round. But at this moment, I don't have a lot of hope for him to be a starter in the NFL. So that'd be really like a late second round pick, maybe even early third round pick. But I still put him in the second round category because I think the upside with that monster arm that he has and the ability to, move around is pretty high. All right. And then the last two guys I want to talk about is going to be Sam Hartman and Jordan Travis out of Florida State. And these guys I have as third round picks, and I'm not really sold on either of them. Truthfully, Jordan Travis, I want to do more investigating, but from what I saw, I just wasn't that impressed. And then same thing with Sam Hartman. He had a good career at Wake Forest and one good year at Notre Dame. I don't think it translates. Sam Hartman to me is just someone who isn't very athletic at all, is going to have to be a pocket passer. And I just didn't see enough of him at Notre Dame to really screamed, hey, you're going to be an NFL pro. I mean, I think he showed flashes when at Wake Forest, but kind of going to better competition at Notre Dame, I'm not that impressed. You want to take a flyer with him in the third round, that's fine. Same thing with Jordan Travis, coming off the broken leg. Sure, but I'm not super sold. I mean, do what you want. It's a third round pick. It's not super important. Usually they don't pan out anyway. But at this point, with the receiver class being really good, maybe you take a risk on someone that's going in the third round as a receiver instead of a quarterback. I'd probably just pass on the two guys and take just about anyone above the two I just mentioned, Sam Hartman and Jordan Travis. And I think you have a better shot with those guys actually, getting any playing time in the NFL next year or, in the future, in the next, 2 to 3 years. And all right, those are my 2024 Dynasty rookie rankings. Now, this is all going to change, right? This list is really a list of where I would draft these guys, what order I would draft these quarterbacks in for real life NFL. This is all going to change when they actually get on teams in 3 weeks. Check in then with me because I'll be back. I'll post updated rankings. And truthfully, we don't know yet. This draft to me is the most wide open. We have no idea who's Washington's going to take at 2. I've heard the Patriots might trade back at 3. We know the Vikings want to move up into the top 5. I heard the Raiders want to move into the top 5. So really, these prospects can go anywhere, and I think you do too. Have no clue. We are clueless. So check back in a month after the NFL draft. I'll have my updated ranks. And if you're just a fantasy fan in general, redraft fan, I'll have fantasy football ranks coming out post-draft. I didn't want to put them out yet just because we're going to have rookies everywhere, and they're definitely going to factor in this year. So please come back if you like the video. Leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for more. And if you're curious about any of these quarterbacks, I have scouting reports on just about all of them. So you can check it out in the playlist below, or at every single quarterback when I talked about them, a notification should have popped up with their scouting reports. So check that out. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.